back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. I am your host, Chris Crenshaw, and we are live still from the 704 once again for episode 93 of the 815 Exchange. And well, I told you that there would be a lot of changes coming this week because of me starting off my internship. And there are changes. Like, for example, this is being filmed on a Sunday. The Game 7s in the NHL and NBA, the last two, I would say. Probably both of them in the NHL. We'll talk about, but I probably won't have the final result, so we're just going to have to see if I Nostradamus it, alright? We're just going to have to see if I Nostradamus, and that's fine, because even though Monday is the best day for me to really record this, even on Mondays sometimes, we miss some of the stuff that happens, an hour or two after, that night after I drop these episodes. So it's not the end of the world either way, but Sunday we are recording at least this first part. And then of course right now, as I'm recording this right now, the Celtics and the Bucks are playing. I think it's in the second quarter. So after that game ends, we will probably record the second half. So if you see some lighting changes or anything kind of change, that is the explanation for that. I will still upload this episode 5:30 on Monday. Next week, I'm not sure. My hours change. So you could get it Sunday night. It could be Monday morning. It could be. It's either going to be Sunday night or Monday. It's still going to be uploaded one of those 2 days. So that's not changing. Just kind of the content and some of the context about when I'm talking about these things. So this first part, and really I guess the entire thing, will be recorded today. But yeah, we'll talk about NBA and all that stuff after that game concludes, and I record that then, and it'll be kind of like normal. But I will not be able to talk about the Game 7s that happen tonight because I do have to wake up early in the morning to do work-related stuff. But without further ado, as always, getting back to the 815 Exchange, the number one sports and entertainment podcast on the planet. If you're here, enjoy it. You're here before everybody else. And as always, if you've been around, the description has everything you're looking for. If you're looking for my social medias, Snapchat, TikTok, IG, whatever it is, Twitter. I have all my social media links here, and of course, as always, if you make it to the intro, and if you don't make it to the intro, feel free to skip ahead, right? If you want to hear me talk about the NBA, right? You hear me talking about all this stuff. You want to hear me talking about what's happening in the NHL, about them Hurricanes getting it done in Game 7, about McDavid being the best player in the world. If you want to skip to that NHL part, feel free. If you want to skip to a Roundup, which is a lot of MLB this week, I really probably could have given the MLB its own kind of segment, but I wanted to put it in the Roundup. You want to hear me talk about, the Angels' brilliance and all that type of stuff, feel free to script a tag to the Roundup. That's fine as well. All the timestamps are in the description. And as always, remember to like, share, and subscribe if you guys are enjoying the content. Now, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, the summer has begun. But this streak of, stuff we've had in boxing, of course, we're starting off with combat sports, no Champions League, at least for the next 2 weeks until the final. Though we do have some soccer in the Roundup. We had some FA Cup action, men's and women's. So the ladies, you want to stick around and go to the Roundup, feel free to. Let's talk about Sam Kerr. But we're going to kick it off with combat sports because we are in this beautiful, beautiful run of having great boxing and UFC events every single week. I'm absolutely loving it. That's been one of the few good things that have happened in May for me, has been getting consistent combat sports every weekend. So this week we had Jermell Charlo get his stripes. He got them. Undisputed. And yet another fantastic matchup against Castano. Those two styles were just absolutely made for each other. They put on another classic. This one didn't make it all the way. Charlo gets it done in 10 rounds. A lot of people had Charlo pulling an hour out. Now listen, I would have hated to judge this fight because I was struggling to judge some of those rounds because it was a lot of Castano would get flurries, but then Charlo would get his shots in, counter punching, and it'd be like, how do you give it to? And I think I gave Castano a little bit more rounds. I don't think Charlo was necessarily pulling away. I think It was going to be very similar to the last fight, though, with the way the momentum was going, even at round 10 before he got that knockdown, where I saw Jermell getting 11 or 10, 11, 12 and pulling away there. But I don't think he had pulled away just yet in that fight. He was definitely doing better, and the momentum was swinging to an extent. But yeah, Charlo finishes Castano this time. No draws, no decisions, no scorecards, just a KO. Didn't put his lights out, but yeah, shut him down. Just they took so much punishment, threw over 1,000 punches. It was just another insane bout. I literally called my dad midway through the fight and was like, I know you're not watching it because I didn't remind you, but you need to turn to this fight. Alright, you need to turn to Charlo versus Castano 2 because it's another classic. Another classic, and I can respect this. He also became undisputed, like I said, super welterweight, 154. He has become the undisputed champ. Charlo needs to be on your pound for pound list, alright? And what I've been saying here is, you know, if I was a boxer or world champion, I would be looking at that Wikipedia page that lists all of the champions in each division. I'd be looking at that like a hit list. I'm not falling back and facing so-and-so contender unless he's a legitimate contender. I don't care about a warm-up fight unless I'm coming off an injury. I'm not worried about them. Once I get a world championship, I win it definitively. I'm chasing the other belts. They're not going to remember me because I was WBO welterweight champion or lightweight champion, right? There's been millions, I mean not millions, but there's been so many IBF or WBA champion, super champion, regular champion, so-and-so champion, interim champion. You don't get remembered in this sport for just being a champion. A lot of people become world champions, as weird as that sounds. Not everybody becomes a unified world champion, and even less become undisputed world champions. Jermell Charlo became an undisputed world champion, which makes him a legend. As he said in his interview, this is a legacy. This makes him a legend in this sport. He deserves the respect that he has wanted for so long. He has earned it. He went out and faced the best of the best in that division. He didn't run, he didn't hide, he didn't go, let me face so-and-so contender, not the champion. He went after the best of the best and took out every single one. It took all the belts. Took them all. There is no debate who the best at 154 is. It's Jermell Charlo. And I can respect that. I can respect that much more, you know, than what's going on in the division above him with his brother, right? Maul should be going after Boo Boo Andrade. I'm trying to wipe him out. I'm trying to take him out. Forget what Canelo is doing. Forget what Canelo is doing. Because I'm not even sure if any of y'all can touch him, respectfully. Forget what he is doing. Stop worrying about him and trying to chase that bag. Because if you win all those titles, that bag will come to you. You will command that bag, and you may even become the bag if you become undisputed. You should be hunting everybody else. These other people having a claim to your crown and your division should upset you. You should be hunting the way Mel did. You should be hunting the way Shakir did. You should be hunting the way that Kambosos has, and how, I guess, Haney, we can say now, is they're going to go for undisputed. People should be hunting these other titles, and I don't know why it's not done more. It should be done more. All credit due to Jermell Charlo, in all respect. He handled business. Castano, a wonderful fighter, but yeah, I think the better guy won, and he got it done. Undisputed. Now in the UFC, we had another UFC fight night this week, headlined by a big light heavyweight matchup in Jan Blachowicz versus Alexander Rakic. Rakic, a guy who I think is one of the future, guys in this division. That's going to be on hold and really possibly be in kind of flux for a little bit, as I don't know what the specific injury is, but it did not look good. His knee popped, all right? It exploded in the second round of that fight versus John. Really unfortunate, because I think that was a really competitive fight. Or actually, it was the third. I had it all kind of knotted up, I think the first round was a little muddy. Probably gave it to John. Second round was definitely Rakic after, you know, he got John on the ground and John wasn't really able to, you know, get up. But then just kind of the damage done from John checking. He's one of the best checkers of kicks, I think, in the world. The damage done through that, also just kind of unlucky, and just kind of damage wears up, just kind of unlucky. Made a normal step and it just popped, you know. He just popped and you hate to see it. Only 30 years old. So there's time for him to come back and, you know, hopefully be back to normal and get right back on that train of, you know, chasing that title. But yeah, just super unfortunate. However, I guess this does set up John to get a rematch potentially against Glover Teixeira or be fighting Jiri Prohovic, which will be very, very interesting. Depending on how that fight in June goes between Glover and Jiri, which we will be, of course, discussing here on the Infantile Exchange. But for now, unfortunately, Rakic's knee explodes. John wins. Other stuff I wanted to talk about in combat sports, I almost missed it. Boots Ennis also won on that card with Charlo-Castano 2. He's next up at 147. I think after, you know, Crawford and Spence get it on, I think he should be next in line. Dude looks like a star. I really would love to see how he matchups against those two. Michael Johnson got to win. Michael Johnson got to win. That's all I want to say. Michael Johnson got to win. Shout out to Mike Johnson. And yeah, that was combat sports for the week. Now for entertainment, which is really just music, and it's really just, we'll talk a little bit about one thing, but that doesn't come out really till probably a week or two till we really get to talk about, and that's Top Gun. But we'll talk about that after we talk about what we need to talk about in music. Because Kendrick Lamar, yes, the great Kendrick Lamar, one of the greatest rappers, one of the greatest artists of this generation. Kendrick Lamar has finally returned to us with an album. It's been a very, very long time. I forget how many days he, in fact, specified in the intro of this album. But Kendrick returned with Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. Woo! Off of first listen. Because I've only been able to listen to it once. Hasn't come back around in the rotation. But it is pretty much in full in rotation. First listen. Now, I will downgrade retroactively Come Home the Kids Miss You, Harlow. I said that Minko's going to give it a 7. I'm going to drop it to a 7.8. 7.8. Retroactively. From the 8.3. Off of my second listen. So, you can see how, you know, sometimes these numbers can fluctuate and go back down. But, for this album, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, I'm going to give this a resounding, one of the highest grades I've ever given an album. I'm not going to give it a perfect 10. I'm going to give it a 9.5. Off of first listen, this gets a 9.5. This is an album of the year contender like we all expected. What a phenomenal, phenomenal piece of work. And just kind of a look into Kendrick's psyche, and it raised conversations and had songs that mattered. It just felt like they mattered. It just felt like they mattered. And it was just brilliant. It was brilliant. N95 is the quote-unquote banger. Dropped a music video for that. N95 was one of my standouts. We cried together. I know a lot of people are like, you know, this is literally a song that's the embodiment of the Malcolm and Marie movie, or Baby Boy. Listen, I'm impressed, so impressed artistically by the fact that they were able to make an argument sound good. They were arguing to the beat, and it was fire. And it was fire. And it was one of my favorite songs off the album. That song is in the playlist. I know. It's literally a 4-minute argument. And Chris, are you really going to? I am absolutely going to listen to that. Not that I'm saying I've never been in a relationship that toxic, even though I have dealt with some stuff. I have never been in anything that toxic, thank the Lord. But that song was fire. We Cry Together, shout out to Taylor Page as well. Mr. Morale kind of had to tell in another one of my standouts. I could pick a bunch of songs and standouts, and I think this will change as I get to my other listens. But what a brilliant, 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 brilliant album. And just kind of, you know, Kendrick dealing with being a father, dealing with his own trauma, dealing with, it felt like some imposter syndrome, dealt with, some of the real world issues, that he always tends to talk about and talks about in such a beautiful, artistic way that stays true to him as an artist. It was just a phenomenal album. If you have not, for whatever reason, deprived yourself of listening to the brilliance that was this album, do not waste any more time. Go listen to this album after you listen to this podcast or this segment or whatever it is. It was brilliant, all right? It was brilliant. It was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant, all right? Kendrick did it again, 9.5. All my TV shows are gone, which is another privilege of me being able to record this on a Sunday, because normally we also would have to not talk about whatever happened Sunday night. But nothing's on right now, all right? Everything turned off. Winning Time, season finale last week. There's nothing on. There's nothing on. However, Top Gun Maverick got crazy reviews, so I think we're going to go see that. And we'll be able to talk about that when it comes out, I think the 24th, which I don't think is this week, but might be next week. So look forward to that in the coming weeks. But yeah, apparently that did a very, very good. Shout out to Tom Cruise. But that was entertainment. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I'm back. It's probably normally a usual slide cut, but I'm back, which means whatever happened in that Celtics-Bucks game happened. But before we get to that, because we're going to let the NBA main event, we're going to talk about the NHL playoffs, shall we? So let's get it started. We're going to talk about them boys in Raleigh, the loudest house in the NHL. I'm claiming it. And this was a series, simply put, of whoever was at home. All right, if you were at home, you were golden. If you were away, good luck, because it was just you were going to be down horrendous. So it went down to Game 7, and yes, the Carolina Hurricanes, the mighty Carolina Hurricanes, got it done versus the Boston Bruins, 3-2. It was the Max Domi game. All right, it was the Max Domi game. The boy had 2 goals and an assist. He was all over this game for us. He was absolutely first star of the game, our best player in this game. It was the Max Domi game. All right, he took over this game and got it done. Now, Pasta scored late, and I mean with 20 seconds, I think it was 30 seconds to go in the game to make it 3-2, and it had me sweating. All right, it had me sweating. It had me real nervous. The way that whole kind of finishing sequence went down had me very, very, very nervous. But the boys were able to get it done, and yeah, I'm happy. Hurricanes move on. Tampa Bay versus Toronto, the other game 7. We had a series. A lot of these first round series went to Game 7. I was right about a lot of them. Tampa Bay. This was one I was right around. I was right again. And I hate to be right. I really, really do. By the way, the Maple Leafs now have the longest time spent in between Stanley Cup victories, as the Tampa Bay Lightning eliminated them in 7 games, 2-1. That Tampa Bay defense just completely, and Vasilevsky, of course, completely nullified Austin Matthews and co. They couldn't get the lid off. They could not get the lid off here in Game 7. Nick Paul had 2 goals for Tampa Bay, both goals for Tampa Bay, or should I say. And that was that. And that was that. That's all I can really, that was. And more disappointed, I mean, what more can I say to you Maple Leafs fans, What more can I say besides, it happened again, right? It happened again. Now, Mitch Marner, can't put it on him, right? He was fantastic this series, right? You can say, what you want about Matthews, but the man scored 60 goals. It's kind of hard to put it on your franchise player. You just got to put it on yourselves as a team, as an organization, for not being able to get it done, The Maple Leafs really just, it's like the anti, Real Madrid, to bring it back to soccer or world football. Real Madrid in these clutch moments, they have a history of performing, and it's in their DNA, and they show up. Toronto has a history of choking and folding in these big moments, and it's ingrained in their team's DNA till this day. And once again, they folded. Like I said, no surprises, even though they had a very talented team. Tampa Bay's got that championship DNA. They've been here, done it. They did it. The third Game 7 last night was Edmonton versus LA. Dustin Brown's last game, unfortunately, was played because, well, Connor McDavid is the best player in the world. Now, I don't take back about what I said, despite what's happened here in round 1 about Matthews was the heart. Listen, what he did in the regular season, 60 goals, give him the heart. But the best player in the world, without a question, all right, it's not even up for debate, is Connor McDavid. It's Connor McJesus for a reason, all right, because he was Jesus, all right? This man was the Savior, the Saint. He was the Holy Ghost in this series for Edmonton. The man had 14 points, the most points in a series in over 30 years. The man was ridiculous. Ridiculous. And in this game, similar to how I said Max took over that Game 7 for the Hurricanes, in the Bruins, McJesus took over this one. 1 goal, 1 assist for Connor in this game. Edmonton won 2-0. He's on a different level. He's on a different level. Also, Mike Smith joined the U40 shutout in the playoff club. So shout out to Mike Smith. But 14 points in one round is ridiculous. He's the best player in the world, and it's not even close. A generational talent in its pure form. Oilers, we'll see what they can do. They take out the Kings. Now, for the Game 7s that we won't be able to talk about, despite them having occurred by the time you guys are watching this, you got New York versus Pittsburgh. Now, I said this was going to be a tougher series for New York, even though they were the higher seed, because Pittsburgh has Sidney Crosby and Malkin, and again, it's like I said, in the NHL playoffs especially, but also just in any playoffs, but especially in the NHL, experience matters. Having that, been there, done that, having that pedigree of winning championships, being in these Game 6s, these Game 7s, being and having played when it matters. And it's mattered in this series. However, New York was able to push it to 7. A lot of that having to do with the fact that Crosby did get injured, unfortunately, in this, I think it was Game 5, or maybe it was Game 6. I think it was Game 5, though. But yeah, Crosby's injured. So, Malkin having to stir the ship in Pittsburgh. Kreider and Zibanejad were huge last game in Game 6, helping New York get, I think it was a 5-3 win. So that's going to be interesting. Should be interesting to see what happens here in Game 7. Pittsburgh, of course, having to play without Sid the Kid. Calgary and Dallas. Now, Heiskanen, put on a disgusting move on Tkachuk and helped power Dallas to win that Game 6. However, I don't know. I don't know about this Game 7. Really feel like it could go either way. Now, Dallas has the momentum, but Calgary can get it done. They can get it done, absolutely. They're going to need Tkachuk. They're going to need Johnny G to show up, though. These big moments are where you need your stars. What do we said for Edmonton Game 7? Who showed up? McDavid. Carolina, Boston. Domi's not a star. Showed up nonetheless. But Pasta showed up for Boston even though they didn't win. For Toronto, Hedman, Vasilevsky, those superstars, they showed up. Calgary needs their stars to show up here in Game 7 if they want to advance. Dallas, got to keep it churning. You've been a well-oiled machine. Got to keep it churning. Should be a very interesting Game 7. Probably goes under the radar because New York, Pittsburgh, a little bit bigger markets, more name value there. But hockey fans, listen. Flames, Stars, should be a good one. You guys can let me know if I was right. But I think this is going to be a very good Game 7. Other stuff that happened in the NHL playoffs that, we don't have to cover because it happened this weekend. But we'll cover it anyway. Quickly, Florida took out Washington in 6. It's their first time winning the series since 1996. So shout out to the Panthers. Like I said, Capitals are going to push them a little bit. But Panthers showed they're ready. Lights didn't get too bright. They advanced. The Blues were able to take out Minnesota. I said, listen, I told you so. I told you so. I told you so. Minnesota, they're not ready yet. Krill, not yet. Got to keep building that team. Blues, been there, done that. I can't say it enough. They win in 6. Also, Jordan Binnington, another just playoff Binnington shows up again, big time. And last Monday, literally hours after, episode, 92? This is episode 93. Episode 92 was released. Colorado brought out the broomsticks on Nashville, so really no surprises there. They're probably on paper the best team. Probably a championship favorite as well. They sweep the Predators. no real surprises there. But NHL playoffs heating up for sure as we enter the end of round 1. Now, that brings us to the NBA. And of course, what just happened, as I announced before I started the NHL segment, if you watched that, Boston has taken out the Milwaukee Bucks in Game 7. Yes, we will have a new champion. Despite Giannis's 25, 20, and 9, back-to-back 20-20 games for Giannis, the man was a monster. He was an absolute monster. And like I said last week, or was it 2 weeks ago, it doesn't matter because it still rings the same. If you want to tell me, you want to look me in the eye and you tell me Giannis Antetokounmpo is the best player in the world, I will not argue. I will not argue. The Greek Freak is just, he's different. It's completely different. He was a beast, but it was not enough. Brook Lopez, 15 and 10. It was not enough. And this Game 7 was not close. And it was not close. Now, sure, Jason Tatum was a big reason why they got here. Game 6. Listen, I can say it many times. Shout out to Last, because pull-up shoot Jason Tatum has been in full effect this entire playoffs. The man is ascending. He's ascending into superstarhood, and he had another great game here, 23, 6, and 8. But the star of the show for Boston in this Game 7 was Grant Williams, who took 18 threes and made 7 out of them and went 27 and 7 in Game 7 to close out the defending champs. And what a performance it was for Grant Williams. Besides even the stuff you hear me say on the stat sheet, even defensively, the way he showed up was huge. This Boston team has proven. Now, I know they beat the Bucks and they did not have Middleton, and that was a very, very big loss. Very, very big loss. And of course, that contributed, and you can say what it is. But the Celtics need to be considered a legitimate contender from here on out, because among the 4 teams left, they have to be considered, a legitimate contender. Tatum has ascended, and they have a squad around them. Boy, oh boy. This series they have upcoming against the team I'll talk about, not next, but after that, in that series, is going to be a very, very good one. It's going to be a very, very good one. And I'm very excited, very, very excited. But congrats to the Celtics. They get it done. It wasn't close, 109-81. Complete blowout. Giannis, best efforts, but not having Middleton. And just the way Boston was playing, it was too much for the defending champs. We will have a new champion. And one of those teams contending for that champion is an old champion, at least with this current breed of players. Because boy, oh boy, it was Game 6 with the Golden State Warriors, and you know how that goes. Game 6 versus the Grizzlies, 110-96 in Game 6 Clay. Now, very, very soon, we're going to have to bring back the most dangerous graphic. Some of you may remember it from way back. And one of the additions on that is going to be Game 6 Clay, because I can't make a most dangerous graphic of the most dangerous people in the universe without having Game 6 Clay, because my goodness, it happened again. 30 points, 8 rebounds, 8 threes. Klay Thompson, there's nobody that loves a Game 6 more than Klay Thompson. He did it again. Now, of course, a similar story to the Bucks Celtics series. Ja Morant, he got injured, was out, for Game 6, whatever. Got to deal with the cards given to you. Now, many people probably have the Warriors winning anyway, but of course, there's a big factor not having Ja naturally. But nonetheless, Warriors deal with the Warriors. It looked like classic Warriors, man. Steph had 29, 7, and 5. Dre had 14, 15, and 8. It was the mid-2010s again. Golden State gets it done, though. Like I said, Game 6 Clay on a different beat. Dylan Brooks did have 30. Des Bane also had 25. So Des Bane, he was great this playoffs, and a great young piece for that young Grizzlies team. They'll be fine. I think they'll be back. Dylan Brooks, he was a menace, had 30 points, so he backed it up. But this Warriors team, I think they're probably the championship favorites in a lot of people's eyes, with good reason. Again, like I said for the NHL, they have that, been there, done that. They've won championships. This group, this core has won championships. Not championship, championships. They've played in every type of big game you can imagine, and they're still playing at a high level. That makes them a very, very, very dangerous team and a bona fide championship contender. Warriors advance. Now, Miami, Philadelphia. Let's talk about a team that has no championship DNA. And a team that is not going to be much more of a team very, very longer. Miami executes the Philadelphia 76ers and the process. 99-90 here in game. Listen, Jimmy said it himself. I don't need to retract what he said. He said it himself. Philly could have been living the life. Could have been living the life with Jimmy, maybe been still there, Embiid, but Jimmy and Embiid kind of rolling the show. That could have been it. And it would have been marvelous, I'm sure. Certainly better than what Philly has put out the past couple of years, which has just been utter disappointments. But Jimmy Butler, like the ghost of Christmas past, came back to haunt the 76ers here, 32-8. He haunted them all series, let's be real. Max Struss also, with Duncan Robinson missing in action. Miami summoned yet another white boy shooter in Max Struss. He had 20, 11, and 5, so he did a little bit more than shoot. Joel Embiid had 20 and 12, though he went 7 for 24. James Harden's stat line is not even worth mentioning. Just know that the beard is done. He's finished. He's finished. Never in my life. I mean, it's been a while since I've looked at a trade and then looked at both teams and how they came out of it and said, y'all both lost. Y'all somehow managed to both lose that trade. With Ben Simmons being, I'm not even sure if he's going to play basketball anymore, and James Harden be more washed than an old shirt. Good Lord, that trade didn't work out for either one of you. It looked pretty at first, but oh boy, it has reared its ugly head and it is disgusting. And disgusting is also what you could describe every single game that James Harden played in this series except for Game 5. He was a bum. Far from the superstar we had seen. The beard done. Finished. He's over. And with this fatal ending, the process is done. It's over. Wrap it up. Put it in a coffin. It's done. Ain't no coming back from this one. This was the death blow, the dagger to the heart. The process is no more. It failed. In some ways, it succeeded in bringing the Sixers back to relevance. But now they're only relevant because they have one of the best big men in the league. And for being failures. It's kind of similar in some ways to the Maple Leafs, you know? Great player, except Marner is much better than Harden. Austin Matthews and Embiid, superstars, bona fide, set MVP candidates. But every time they get in the playoffs, every time they get close, you just know that they're going to fold. You just know they're going to fold. And the Sixers did nothing but what we expected them to when they folded. They were who we thought they were in the end. And the Heat were for real. They were for real. We got rid of them. Did what had to be done. Jimmy Buckets, he's on the most dangerous list already, so I don't need to make any changes there. He's the guy for a reason. 2 years ago, making it in the bubble, that was not a fluke. I've been trying to tell y'all, and y'all need to put some more respect on their name. And if you don't now, then you never will. It's going to be a hell of a series versus the Celtics. I look forward to it. Now to close out the NBA segment, the game that we won't be able to talk about live, of course, because it'll already happen. But I'm going to make a prediction, even with no, we got Tony Brothers. So still we're going to have a bunch of fouls, all right? This is going to be a very long game. There's going to be a bunch of fouls. We can check if I'm Nostradamus. Lord knows who's going to win this. On paper, I will say the Suns should absolutely win this game. Will they? I don't know. I would say they will, but Lord knows who's going to win this game. Lord knows. This is going to be a messy Game 7. That's my prediction. You're going to get fouls, somebody's getting teed up, and there's going to be a lot of whining. It's not going to be a very aesthetically pleasing game, but nonetheless, on paper, Suns should win. But this game is in Game 7 for a reason. Maybe Luka's ascending. Lord knows. I have no idea who's going to win this one. We can look at it after, and when I upload this, and we can say, I told you so, or maybe it was a great all-time grade, but I got nothing. I got nothing. All right, ladies and gentlemen. With that said, we have reached the roundup, and well. It's a good week for 23XI, not just because I'll be arriving very soon, but for 2311. Kurt Busch wins here at Kansas. So yeah, shout out to Kurt, legend, future Hall of Famer. Not much more to say, Not too much more to say. That was the only thing that happened in racing this week. F1 was off, even though Charles continues to have terrible luck in Monaco. He crashed a lot of his car, and he was kind of upset about that. But yeah, Kurt wins here at Kansas. Huge win. I think the Busch Bros win 1-3 in this race as well. So yeah, shout out to the Busch Bros. But Kurt back in the playoff with the big win here in Kansas, 23-11. Good. FA Cup. We're going to start off with the ladies. Chelsea made it to both of these. They only won one of them, and we're going to start off with the one they won. All right? The Blues did win against Man City in the Women's FA Cup, thanks to Sam Kerr being Sam Kerr. She gets the golden goal in extra time. 99th minute, I believe. Sam Kerr. Well, we talked about Kurt Busch legend. Sam Kerr is a legend. She is a legend. A legend in the greatness of the word. Legend. She's the definition. All right. And yeah, Sam did it again. One of the best strikers, one of the best forwards of this generation, of her generation. And yeah, she gets the brace here in the FA Cup. Helps lift Chelsea to a win with the game winner. That was after Rassel scored in the 89th minute. This was a fantastic game to watch, by the way. I would highly advise catching the highlights at the very least, if you can. Because yeah, it was a great matchup between Chelsea and Man City. Shows how much women's soccer has developed in England, by the way. So yeah, Chelsea gets the win here in the Women's FA Cup. However, in the Men's FA Cup, weren't as lucky. But we did also go to, extra time. We needed some extra, extra time, at least in this one. As we went to penalties, as nobody could score a goal in this game. We go 0-0 into penalties, and then Liverpool gets it done 6-5 ahead of the Champions League final. They were able to get the FA Cup win. Mason Mount and Cesar Azpilicueta missing for Chelsea feels woefully ironic, as they're two of the most consistent factors on that Chelsea team. So, unfortunate. However, Mendy did, I guess, if you want to take, grab at something. He did win the Battle of Senegal. It seemed to know what Sadio Mane was going to do there. But Liverpool gets it done. Trent Alexander-Arnold has won everything. At 23 or 24, has won everything, except for a World Cup. In any international success, because he's English. But he's won everything there is to win on a club level. So yeah, shout out to TAA. But my goodness. Liverpool, Real Madrid, what a Champions League final that's going to be. Premier League not done though, because some more big news. It's happening. It's happening. Erling Haaland is going to Man City. Official. Oh boy. He is going to score an obscene. He was already the number 2 most of the people consider, at least behind Mbappe. Oh my Lord. With the talent they have around him at Man City, getting delivered balls from KDB, Bernardo Silva, Phil Foden. Oh my Lord. He is going to score, he's going to score an obscene amount of goals in that light blue pit. I mean, an obscene amount of goals. But yeah, Haaland to Man City, and once again the Premier League is in disarray. Heading over to the MLB here to close out the roundup. The Reds. It's just going to be a rough year. It's going to be a rough year, Cincy fans. Y'all managed to get a no-hitter. A no-hitter and a loss, so it doesn't count as a no-hitter. But I don't know how you don't give up a hit and lose. But y'all managed to do that. The Reds, what an innovative way to find another way to lose yet another game. The Pirates get the win 1-0. A no-hitter, but it's not a no-hitter because you lost. It's pain, just pain in Cincinnati. Speaking of actual no-hitters, though, the rookie for the Angels, who have been fantastic this year, looking like they might be turning the corner as a team. Reed Demeters looking like he's going to be a great left-handed for them. No hits to Rays. Not easy, not easy feat. No hitter just in general and against the Rays. Well done, Reed. Marsh, Walsh, Trout, Ohtani has been a disgusting lineup. A disgusting 1 through 4 or 1 through 5, or however you want to frame it. With Rendon, it's just been disgusting. Angels have been great. They've been great. Absolutely fantastic. Won't talk about the Yankees and bore you with the details. We're doing great again. Judge and staying on another plane. But I'll talk about Bryce Harper because the reigning, defending MVP has picked up right where he left off. Both of the MVPs. Ohtani's been great to start the season. Bryce is hitting 305, tied for the NL lead in homers with 9. He's already got 1.4 WAR. Philly's doing not too bad. Listen, Bryce Harper living up to what Bryce is, was supposed to be and what that contract can chase, especially in these last 2 years with Philly. It feels like he's finally gotten healthy, knock on what I need to, because I love seeing Bryce Harper play, one of my favorite players. But yeah, Bryce has been fantastic. So yeah, shout out to Phillies, shout out to Bryce. And that concludes what may be the final episode for a while of the Infinity Exchange on Mondays, and the first of them being filmed on a Sunday. So yeah, we'll see. A lot of changes coming next week, but hopefully this helps kind of gradually bring them in. Another great week in sports. We'll have, of course, Tank versus Raleigh. I'm assuming Tank's probably going to decapitate him. We'll have that and more to talk about next week. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, it's 7:04 for the summer, and welcome to summer. Ocho, signing off.